Hey there, my friends. Okay, who is your guru? Welcome back, my friends. What I wanted to talk to you about today was something that, um, over the last probably, got to be over 30 years now, because I started into this idea of personal development when I was about 17, 18 years old. So we're coming into 30 years. And one thing that I realized, right, like at the beginning when we talk about personal development, I and even professional development, I think on every level, um, we tend to start. Well, let me rephrase that. If you're like me, um, you tend to start just consuming as much as possible, and in the thought process that, well, the more I consume, probably, for lack of a better term, the better off I'll be. And here's where I've found over the last 30 years, after reading probably close to 1,200 books, um, I've found one thing. We have too many gurus. Now, some of you might really get into it with multiple gurus. Here's the thing that I've learned, and hopefully, you can take this and use it today, use it every day. Um, I used to have 10 or 15 different people I would consume content. I would read their books. I would do everything. And I found what happened was everything I tried to do was diluted because I wasn't supremely focused on one aspect, one flow, one workflow, one tool, one process, one framework, and take it all the way to the end, right? Um, what I started realizing very quickly was, you read a book and like, oh my God, that book was awesome. That was so cool. And then you read another book and like, oh my God, that book was so awesome. That was so cool. And then you stop and ask yourself this at the end of the month: how many pieces of those books did I actually use? Like, they were great, they were awesome, but how many did I actually implement and am still using in my day to day business and life? The reality is, the majority of them you will not. And it's because we are so, the ideas and strategies become diluted when we start adding and stacking different ideas and strategies on top of them. So, what I've done a couple of months ago, and I mean, we're talking 30 years to come to this conclusion, everybody. So, this is not something where I'm sitting there going, oh my God, for 10 years. I mean, we're literally talking 3, 4 months that I've been simply laser focused on specific aspects of my life. So, what I've done is I sat down, and here's my challenge, or here's my suggestion to you. Nah, fuck it. Here's the challenge to you: sit down today, right now, pull out a notebook, pull out a piece of paper, pull out your iPad, whatever you use to take notes, and start writing the different areas of your life. So you have personal, you have finance, you maybe have relationships, like personal relationships with your wife, your kids, your husband, maybe your in-laws, maybe, like, all of these areas, right? We have finance, we have business. And what is business? So let's look at, business development, but then let's also pay attention to prospecting, right? And from prospecting, it's like, what kind of prospecting do I want to do? Do I want to do phone calls? Do I want to do emails? Do I want to do LinkedIn? Do I want to do this? And what I suggest you do is you find a guru in each of these sections of your life. And once you find that guru, you do not let any other gurus in until you've consumed that chunk of content, that book, and applied it in those areas. So here's what I mean. I sat down and I started looking at it. I said, okay, so for my business, I have a guru, which is the late great Bob Proctor, because Bob Proctor taught me about this strategy. Because Bob Proctor, now for those of you that don't know Bob Proctor, his huge thing that he always talked about was like multiple sources of income, shattering paradigms, shattering those false beliefs, okay, that stop us from achieving what we really want in life. But there was a different piece of Bob that I don't think a lot of people realize, because I think they sometimes just skimmed over it. Bob read Think and Grow Rich about 4 times a year by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich about 4 times a year. And that was his book. That became, in essence, his Bible. And you see, in that book, Think and Grow Rich, there's every single piece of the puzzle to get you anything you want in life. But people overlook it, right? This is why books more become shelf help than self help, right? And so I chose Bob for that business piece because he talks about MSIs, multiple sources of income, right? So I understand the MSI portion in your business. Now, some of you might be saying to yourself, yeah, but Dan, man, I'm in logistics sales. Like, I'm so busy with what I'm doing. How do I add multiple sources to that? So, and I agree with you because in logistics, I was like, oh my God, I'm selling constantly all day long. How do I help myself get better? So what I decided to do was decided to morph his MSI concept into different aspects of my business. So, multiple sources of income in logistics specific. Okay, so you have OTR, then all of a sudden you have rail, then you have air and ocean, then you have warehousing, then you have customs brokerages. So, you can develop 5-star clients with multiple sources of income inside your company. If your company doesn't have an air and ocean or a rail division or a custom broker, then partner with other people that do, or other companies, partner with a customs broker and get a kickback on that. It's only fair. You're bringing them business. So why not create yourself your own internal network? Now, some of you might be saying, oh, but damn, my company will never allow it. Okay, well, then maybe it's time to find another company. And I'm sorry for all of you companies out there that don't allow your reps to expand their wings. And if you don't have the division, how can I work with another division? How can I find a warehouse where I can generate 10, 15 points on that warehouse every month? It's a multiple source of income. It's another source of income that you're doing very little effort or work to attain, right? So that's what, when it comes to doing the MSIs, I also look at like the likes of Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels because he is a wicked marketing coach. So I use him for my marketing. When it comes to finances, I look at Tony Robbins and money mastering the game. That's my finance, right? When I do personal, like internal healing and growth and mindset, it's Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer is my guru. Some of you might say, okay, Jay Shetty's going to be my personal mindset coach, right? So when I'm meditating, when I'm doing all of this, Wayne Dyer is the one I model all of that after, right? And then so that now you start getting into it, right? So cold calling. Who's your cold call genius? Maybe it's Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton from Go for No. Maybe it's Jeb Blunt. Maybe it's Jeffrey Gitomer. Like we have all of these gurus and they specialize in specific niches. And the thing is, use their niches for what's best for you. If you're talking social media and you're saying, I want to be like the master of social media, my suggestion is Gary Vaynerchuk is the guy to go to for social media. Like he just seems to be always on with his strategy on social media. So maybe just focus on what he has to say and implement his strategies. Then once you're done implementing his strategies, you look and say, okay, that worked, that didn't, that worked, that didn't. Then you have a foundation. On that foundation, then you expand. It's okay, I'm going to go find another guru and I'm going to digest and consume, and not only consume, but really absorb all of their content to try and figure another level out. And you see, this is where I truly believe that most people get caught up, because we get caught up in the consumption, like the consumption vortex, where it's are consuming this. And don't get me wrong, when we consume content, right? Like, and all of this is content, whether you're talking about, a book, whatever it is, it's all forms, it's all content, just in different forms. And what happens is the idea and strategy becomes so diluted, right? One thing that, and maybe this will help you guys a little bit. So one thing that I found majorly helpful, and maybe helpful is not the word, but extremely insightful for me as an individual. And everyone's going to have their own or different thoughts on this. When I read Jeff Olson's book, The Slight Edge, um, I realized that when I read more than 10 pages or listen to more than 30 minutes of an audiobook, I really lose that foundational piece that I need to master. And my whole process, and I talked about this with Will Padilla on the podcast, we talked about the slight edge, but you know, my entire focus was, oh, I got to read a book a week because you hear so many gurus saying, oh, the more you read, the better you are. But it's not about what you read, it's how you consume and absorb what you read. Because we can all sit there and read, and I'm sure you're probably just like me, where you read it and you're like, oh my God, that's awesome. And if you don't apply it immediately, then what happens is you tend to forget it and you never apply it in your life. And this is why things become shelf help instead of self help. Now, self help is, in my opinion, is not just personal development. Self help is anything. I'm here, I want to go here, and I have a level that I want to go up to. That's helping myself to get that level. That's self help. So, in the end, I mean, I wanted this episode to be very short because I find that when we drag things on, we tend to lose the power in them. So, for you right now, sit down. Go through every aspect of your life that you want to improve. Choose one guru, and you might choose one guru for three different parts of your life because that's their message, that's their encompassing framework. But choose these individuals, and stick with them. Like for me, when I look at joy in my life, it's Brian Biro. Hands down, Brian is the man if you want to really experience how to be fully present in life, how to experience joy, how to love what you do and enjoy the process. That's Brian Biro, right? Your cold calls, maybe it's Andrew Waltz, Go for No, and Richard Fenton. Like I'm repeating myself. See what I mean? We're at 11 minutes now, and I'm repeating myself. So go out, do that, write down everything, and then stop and say to yourself, okay, who's the guru I want for this specific area of my life? Go grab their content, stay online, choose an hour every day to say, this week, I'm going to do half an hour every day for this piece of my life and half an hour for this piece of my life. See, if we go in, this is the last piece here, and then I'll let y'all go. If we go into this and say, I've got 7 areas in my life, and every day I'm going to do something in all those areas, it's going to dilute what we're trying to do. Again, specific, honed in, ready to go. Until next time, my friends, remember, go out there, make every call educational, and crush your sales. We'll talk to you soon.